Good morning, everyone. We have a wonderful show planned for you today. Have you ever thought about how much you repeat the patterns that you grew up with? Have you ever thought about how you could break these parental patterns that you learned from people who loved you very much, but sometimes didn't teach you the best life skills? Have you repeated traumatic patterns that you grew up with, whether they be in relationships or whether they be on your job or other personal ties and friendships? Well, if you have, you are not alone. Many of us have learned unhealthy patterns and believe them. Sometimes subconsciously, sometimes we work on them, but we still repeat them. I don't know about you, but I had a stoic father, so I know I have to be very careful when I am attracted to stoic, unemotional, non available men. And even though I try my best not to, oftentimes I find myself repeating those patterns. We're going to talk about how to unlearn the bad patterns that our loving parents, well intentioned, who did the best they could with what they knew, we're going to unlearn some of those patterns today. I have my very special guest, Dr. Tasha, in the building. She blessed us with two amazing shows. Go back and watch. Please don't ask me why I am single with Dr. Tasha. And we did a fabulous show that was in the top 10 of the Suzette Speaks shows. Would you marry you? Big question of the day, though, is how do we unlearn what they told us? That's the subject matter we're going to try to tackle. Dr. Tasha is a doctor of psychology. She practices from door to door to in her office. You can find her at drivebytherapy.org. She's all over South Florida. But before I bring her up, please hit the like button so more and more people can see the stream. Comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Of course, if you're team replay, you know what it is. It's a beautiful Saturday morning in Miami. We're going to do some self-development today, self-empowerment, self-reflection, self-analysis. I think that's one of the most common complaints I hear about when people are out here in these dating streets. People have not done the work. And no matter who you are, you have to do the work. And what we mean by that is look at your life patterns, the things that are not serving you, the things that end up being unhealthy in terms of your choices come from somewhere. And if you're not conscious of where they come from, you got to realize that oftentimes what we grow up with in terms of our environment has a huge impact on who we become as adults. I don't know what Dr. Tasha going to say, but I know personally, I believe about 80% of what we grow up with is who you become. Because no matter what, it's very hard to break childhood conditioning. If you grew up in a safe home, if you grew up with lots of love, and people can love you in different ways, mind you, but oftentimes the complexities of, economics right now, we know we're getting ready for a very tough time economically speaking. Oftentimes, if you grew up in a economically challenged household where you didn't always have your luxuries or even your necessities, it can play in terms of how you approach life. It can play like a record. It can play like what should I say, your outlook. It can have an impact on how you think your life is going to go or the probability that you have of success, etc. I've seen it in my own family. I've seen it with my own friends. I've seen it within myself. And with all these challenges as being a human being, specifically in the Black diaspora, we have a lot more, which I say challenges when it comes to mom having to work or going overseas. I know we were watching, I have viewers from Jamaicans.com, Big Up Yourself, my co-sponsors today, when one parent is going overseas or going abroad to work and leaves kids with, uncles and aunts and grandparents. That has an effect on y'all, on us. And if we are not truthful about it and if we don't dig deep and do the work, we ignore how it manifests in our present day lives with how we treat our spouse or our loved ones, with how we treat our children, with how we approach life's challenges. So we're not going to be able to get to everybody's isms and schisms today, but we're going to definitely talk about what you learned growing up and how it impacts you. And if it doesn't serve you, how do you unlearn it? How do you stop believing what they told you? Do you know there's people that grew up in households that were fully non-supportive, unsupportive households where people told them they couldn't do nothing, they couldn't be anything, that they was going to be like their dad? that they were going to be, and I know that's hard to believe because many of us grew up in loving, very supportive homes where the parent tried at least to demonstrate good role modeling when it came to exercising emotional temperance, exercising emotional control, right? Trying to develop life skills and problem solving skills in a healthy way. Others of us, our parents did not have those skills themselves. No one taught them how to do it. So you was just yelled at, go sit down, go do this, go do that, sit down, look the other way. And to this day, some of those voices still play in our heads. We still hear what mom, dad, grandma, auntie, uncle, cousin them used to tell us. And if you weren't in a nurturing environment, that can be very damaging. So, how do you unlearn some of these limiting thoughts that sometimes become self limiting? Well, we're going to have a very deep conversation today. We're going to get started right now. Hit the like button so I can bring in my guests. Did y'all know I just celebrated my 1 year YouTube anniversary? Thank you. 1 year Thursday. I celebrated my anniversary on YouTube. I was doing my top 10, and Dr. Tasha, who I have today, made it twice in the top 10. Her shows are very popular. So she's going to do some work for us today. Buckle up. This is not oftentimes easy work to do, but we got to recognize that I was just thinking as I was preparing, especially within the diaspora, the Black diaspora, we have so many more challenges when it comes to loving somebody else because of the heaviness sometimes that we oftentimes bring and have not dealt with. Oh, don't do it, Sue. Oftentimes you want to be loved, but you are being challenged by some inner self-talk, some patterns that you learned that doesn't allow you to be easily lovable. I think sometimes as Black people, we have to make that conscious effort to say, you know what, my partner may have more emotional baggage than average. Hit the like button. We're doing work today. So I'm going to have to approach him or her in a more empathetic and a more understanding way. Because oftentimes, if we're going to make this thing work, the Black community reunited based on strong families, we have to understand that we are going to bring some of the unfinished business, all right? Some of the things that we learned as children are going to impact us as adults. And we have to be patient, yet we have to be intentional about unlearning it. Let's go. Are you ready? Hit the like button so I can bring on my guests. I see you in the chat. Good morning. I want to say what's up. Thank you, Gray Pill Podcast. Good morning to you. You like the thumbnail? That's me and Dr. Tasha, babe. Thank you, Veggie. Good morning, that Christian Fam channel. Greetings. Dallas is 74 degrees? Nothing compared. No, we were cold this morning. I woke up and went to an actual nutrition class, working on my nutrition, y'all. Because I feel like, again, it's mind, body, spirit. I don't want to meet nobody and be kind of like, lacking in any area. And this is an area I've always had challenges with. So we're working on us today. Is that all right? Is that our sun breeze? Nice to see you, West Coast Cali in the building. Hit the like button for the algorithm, says Doug. If you're watching on Jamaicans.com, welcome. If you're watching on the Suzette Speaks Facebook page, welcome. But if you are watching on the Suzette Speaks YouTube channel, you know what to do. Hit the like button, team replay, big up yourself. I see you, T. Bennett. Welcome. Pull up, grab a chair. This is going to be a little bit more introspective today. Brick Slinger, salute to you. Shout out to everybody who supported the 1 year anniversary show. Shout out to everyone who supported over the last year. Liking, commenting, sharing, every way that you encourage me. Thank you. I can't get that deep right now, Doctor. We got some work to do because she got a limited amount of time. So let me, without further ado, bring up my special guest spending a Saturday with us again, y'all. We special. I'm so happy to have, she's a local celebrity, okay? I'm just really honored. I admire her in so many different ways, and I'm glad she can come on and bless us with her expertise today. Y'all welcome again to the Suzette Speaks Show, none other than Dr. Tasha. Hey, Dr. Tasha.
Hello, Attorney Suzette Speaks. I love calling you that.
It's great to see you.
You also. Good Saturday to you.
Thank you, love. I've set it up, and I think we got some work to do, ma'am. We got so much to say about this. And when I date, when I'm out in these streets, when I
Mm.
even in friendships, Doc, I try to pose the question like, why is this person behaving this way?
Okay.
And let me just tell you, even in a couple of, I went to New Orleans with a group of 10 girls this past weekend, right? And we got along for the most part. Amen. Thank you, Jesus. But even in that situation, I was reading an article about how the pandemic even has changed our personalities
Oh,
and
that's
being in
true.
isolation and not having these kind of social graces anymore. And it was a great article, actually. I think I'm going to share it on my Patreon. But where do we begin with the unlearn and the what should I say, framework that doesn't serve us? Mom and dad did the best they knew how. This is not a let's all dump on mom and dad day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It's not bashing, but we just gotta
No,
identify. It's identifying what it is that you need to unlearn. Which helps you
absolutely.
to even change, which I love even when you said earlier about having a stoic father, you're thinking about making sure that you don't attract that if that's a characteristic that you didn't appreciate about him. But the truth is you may also want to see how often are you actually stoic and you don't even mean to be.
Oof.
We always thinking it's the other, but it actually could be you. We could have to honestly look in the mirror and say, are we the characteristics? Have we become the characteristics of the parent, the grandparent, the
Mm,
caregiver, whoever that was in my
mhm.
life that I actually couldn't stand, that trait that I couldn't stand? Those are
Ooh.
hard also. That's I have to look in the mirror. Now let me
No,
tell you where.
you hitting me home. You hitting home.
Yeah, it's a skill to be stoic because it was a learned behavior. That's what I'm saying. It was
Absolutely.
a learned behavior. So let me tell you where this idea came from. And I've heard a few people have books on it. I didn't copy them. I was thinking about it before they did what they did, and I'm proud of those who understand the idea to unlearn is important. But this just happened in the last couple of weeks. It was crazy. When I tell you, I heard two people say how they were taught by their grandmothers. Okay,
Hmm.
grandmothers, because we love that generation. That's telling us what to do in 2022, right?
Right, right.
About it's bananas, but I understand they can only give you what you people can only give you what they have, right? So then we have to possibly transform or reframe it to what era we're actually living in. But the saying was by two different separate people was that they were taught, male and female, that they should find someone that likes them more than they like them. Have you ever heard that one before?
100%. That's common.
Who made that up?
That
Who?
that'll be easy to find, and I don't know if they know what that means. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
common.
but that
People
is
say
that is
that
really
a lot.
acknowledging that you don't like the person, but you should still continue. What are we saying exactly?
Yeah,
Now, the
yeah.
truth is,
There's
you need to find someone that consistently likes and loves you, right? So, as you go through all your emotional shenanigans, sometimes more as women than men, then you find someone that's constant. That makes sense. But more than, I don't like it at all. So, I would like us to unlearn. Let's
so
let's find
yeah.
someone.
There's so
Hey,
many things.
Sunbees, what's going on? Yeah, that's a big deal. I just
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's not even logical.
yeah.
You know, you do. It is nice to have someone in your life that was persistent, right? That they
Mhm.
constantly had you on their mind and they made sure that when you came in the room, it was all eyes on you. That's a good feeling. But to actually think that like they need to love you more or like you more, that's not.
No.
Yeah,
Doc,
it's
I
not.
want people to know, just in case this is the first time people are seeing you, let me
Oh,
allow you to do a proper intro. Before we get too deep, let me give you a proper intro. So tell people
oh,
who
I
you are
forgot about
and
that.
what you do in your practice. I forgot to. Don't worry. I just want
Oh,
to make
okay.
sure they
So,
know who
hey
you are.
everyone, I am a doctor of clinical psychology. Excuse me, I am also the president of the Association of Black Psychologists. I absolutely think I have the best job in the world because people that look like us, we were not taught to do this. And so I love working with individuals, families, couples. I have a couples boot camp coming up in January. Like she said earlier, all you have to do is go to drivebytherapy.org. Every Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m., I'm going to meet with people in person, couples in person, and we'll do a boot camp. The truth is, I talked to you about grief, unresolved childhood trauma, addiction, anxiety, being a great entrepreneur, and sometimes learning how to do it scared when it's scary. I mean, there's so many reasons why people come into my couch, but some, unfortunately, is because you were so used to being silenced and dismissed as a young person that even in your adult life, you don't know what it feels like or you don't require others to value you. And so that's just a little bit about what I do every day. And I really do appreciate you having me on your platform as
Of
well.
course. So y'all, she comes from a clinical or
Yeah,
practical,
background.
yeah, background, so people can understand that you do this and you see people who are fighting some of these uh, childhood, I don't want to say traumas, because I think sometimes that word gets thrown around and people will be like, I don't have trauma.
It does. Dynamic. Your childhood dynamics
Dynamic.
that were normalized, that you have now normalized in your adult life, and it's not serving you. That's
I
all I'm
love
saying.
it.
Look at what's
That's a better way of putting it. Thank you. So a childhood dynamic that is normalized because it's how you grew up, but it
yep.
does not serve you as an adult. I love that. So you were given some examples, and I know we'll probably get into a few. And I know within your practice, as you say, you are counseling couples who are probably at some point dealing with one or both having individual challenges with what we're talking about,
Oh,
with
for
this
sure.
is how I grew up, this is not what I want to project to you, this is not how I want to deal with this problem. I money comes to mind first and foremost, because I think a lot of secrecy, I don't know in your household, but in my household and a lot of Black diaspora households, money is not really taught openly. I know that's changing as the next generations of XYZ millennial are coming of age and maybe talking to their kids a little bit more about money. But if you grew up with boomer parents or even Generation X parents, you didn't really get a lot of open discussion around money. So therefore, when there are challenges, when people lose a job, where people are, just economically not where they want to be, there's a lot of emotion tied to that and unsettled feelings about that. How have you seen that presented in your practice when you're talking to people to develop better life skills to deal with economic challenges, for example?
Okay, good question. The truth is there are three things that normally would get us going from I want to be married to I want to be divorced, and that's money, sex, and parenting. That's not in any particular order. And in this kind of day and age, it's kind of co-parenting. So a lot of folks are blending families. So it's not just parenting your biological kid, it's parenting your kid that's your bonus kid. And so if dealing with money, if that's the first thing we could talk about, on the couch most times, the idea of talking about your real income, hello, your real income. So
We
yes,
hide. We got the second account though, Doc. We got the side account that we don't want him
I
to know
do not
about,
play. I am
because
not playing with y'all.
in
I don't.
case something happened, every woman
I'm
know
not
that you
doing
have to
that.
have the
I don't know.
side
I've heard
money.
it all. It was on all the media plays about the side account. I've heard of it. I think it's deceptive. Hello, nobody wants to
So
say
you're
that.
not a fan of the side
And
account. We
I
can't
don't
have the
like it.
side money.
I don't like it, but some of you all were taught by single mothers how to have your money on the side. So, um, not by your married mothers, but by your single mothers.
See,
And
Doc.
so
See, Doc.
that's
Well,
okay.
so
That's fine.
your rule is there shouldn't be any side secret accounts if you're a woman.
Um, in my rule, I think all deceptive behaviors should be non-existent in relationships as well
Ah,
as marriage. And
mm.
so I remember I saw my mom, we would go to the mall, and she, because she didn't want to account for what she bought, she left it in the trunk, the clothes with the tags on it, and then either waited for him to go and mow the lawn or go to bed. She would then put it in the other bedroom, not their bedroom, the guest bedroom. And so it was all deceptive. I remember being 12 years old wondering, like, wow, number one, y'all both make six figures. So what is it is really going on?
Why
Right.
are you
And
hiding the
so,
clothes?
right. And so, one, why are you buying the clothes? Two, why don't you have a conversation about, like, can I have this as my budget for money because of da 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 da? But to actually go through the entire idea of being deceptive and putting it in the closet and showing it into your in front of your
Your
child. Look
child.
how deep it is. So you're teaching deception to be normal.
Mm.
And so I don't like it at all.
Mhm.
Even if there was going to be an argument, let's have the argument about how you just spent $500 on three dresses. But I don't know. I don't go to sleep at night knowing I lied to my spouse. It
So
doesn't
that's
feel good,
huge.
right?
Yeah.
And remember, out of omission is still lying. So a lot of y'all say I didn't lie. Well, you're saying you didn't say it as a lie. You just didn't say nothing.
Hold on, Dot. Hold on, Dot. You done broke a lot of people.
It's fine. It's fine.
So we're talking
Deception. Yeah.
about how to unlearn childhood dynamics that don't serve us as adults. I'm here with Dr. Tasha, founder of drivebytherapy.org. If you are in the South Florida area, you can always call on her, go on her website, book her. If these issues are things that are challenging you right now, no judgment at all. All of us have some unresolved issues if we live long enough. and we have to have help. I tell people all the time, sometimes we're us smart people, we think we can figure it out. And you will be on your own for a longer period of time trying to heal than if you are going to be with a therapist or counselor that can help accelerate by giving you the proper tools to deal with these issues. So, shout out to Dr. Tasha and all of those in the mental health and counseling realm that help people to make these tough adjustments. And we're talking about things that don't serve us, but we can't seem to unlearn. And the first thing we're talking about is practices to deal with money. And Doc just outlined one of the very most common, I would say, among women, particularly Black women, is to not disclose fully to our mate or boyfriends or whoever we're trying to be serious with what we make, and keeping money on the side, under the mattress, wherever, so that in case something happens, we have our own. And Doc is pointing out how, especially, and I'm glad you mentioned it, seeing that growing up, that puts an imprint in your mind as to you can't fully trust someone. You have to be deceptive in order to survive in a marriage. And I think when people learn those things and they start doing them as adults, they don't really even think about where did this come from. This is just, as you say, grandma told me, never let a man know everything that you got. Never let a man do this. So
it's true. That
how do
was actually taught. It's crazy to think that somebody taught this out loud. But I get it. Remember, there's an era of we weren't, as women, we weren't making the money.
Right.
Right.
So it
there was
comes
an
from
idea
grandma
that,
not having her own.
right. So she had to find some level of individualism in her household because every piece of bacon that was actually being used or eaten was coming from him. So I get it. I get where it comes from. It just makes me sad that we're continuing it because we're actually making the money also now. Let me think. I wanted to say something else.
Can I just read the chat? Let me read two. Don't forget your point. Deshara said that's not deceptive. Deshara gonna push back. Dr. Tasha, you big tripping.
I already know. I know this one
Doug
right
said,
here.
shame on y'all for those side accounts. Just for that, I'm going to have an extra side LLC. All right. So we already have the chat cooking. Leave your comments and let us know what you're thinking about today's topic. As you were going to say, Doc, go ahead.
Oh, there was something that I love that you said. It's so funny. My necklace is, she doesn't like me really right now. It's fine. She's winning. It's fine. You won. But the idea is, you said about how smart people really are. Mm-hmm. So intellectualizing is actually a defense mechanism. I just want to say that sometimes when we're so smart, we can actually talk ourselves out of something, which means you're full of excuses because of your quick wit. It's actually a defense. So the complaint that I've heard with those who love smart people, really, yes, there are lots of men that love smart women. I think that's a myth when people ask that whole, it doesn't intimidate him that I have a college degree. No. Are you able to respect a man because with your college degree that doesn't have one? That's the conversation. People kill me with that one. Okay. No, it's just not true. Men love smart women. Okay. They really do. They just don't love smart women who lead with their intelligence and now there's no room for their heart. Right? Because they're so up here. So the idea of intellectualizing is a defense, but it works for you at work. But in relationships, it's like you're kind of putting a block in the emotional ability to attach because you're intellectually so used to attaching. You get that? Does everybody understand?
Hold on now. Give me an example. So intellectualizing can be in a defense mechanism, which I know I'm guilty of.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be a big girl and say, tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Okay, I got you. So the truth is, so let's think of two people having an argument. And the man says something that he's bothered by. And the woman says, instead of saying, oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize that's what I did that bothered you, in a comforting way, on an emotional, right? Heart to heart moment, having self, like that would be a moment. Instead, they're like, what exactly did you say bothered you? Like, because now we're going to analyze the crap out of the statement that he's bothered. And we have yet to comfort the heart of the man. And this can, oh, you laughing because you know I'm telling the daggone truth.
I have to stop this. I have done this. I have lowered my frequency of doing this. Thank you. Sunbreeze says she's loving the conversation with the 101 on the super chat. No comment.
Oh, I love it.
Question. Just love. Thank you. Appreciate you. Doc is doing work because this is very common again with very smart people, men and women.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Men
have
do the
seen
same
this
thing.
and I try to steer away from this. And the example that Doc is giving, Dr. Tasha is giving is very real, where
Yes.
the open, vulnerable party is saying,
Yes.
this hurt me, this didn't feel right, I need this from you in order
Yes.
to, feel whole. And then you, in response, instead trying to break down word for word, well, I didn't really say that though, but that's not what I said, I didn't mean that, how could that hurt your feelings, this and this and that, and over intellectualizing these circumstances and putting now the onus on the person to have to explain or hit the detail, or it is a side, it is a red herring, as you have pointed out. It is a way of creating emotional distance and
Yes.
invalidating what the person is trying to really say to you
Yes.
instead of leading with their heart.
Unconsciously. Unconsciously.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Everybody's not just out here trying to be an a-hole. It's just that we sometimes are just too smart for our own good to even be able to have a relationship.
My
Someone's
Lord.
trying to relate to you. They're not your professor and they're not your student. So no one needs a grade today. It's just, how do I connect with you? That's how deep it is. Like, so we have to unlearn how we're used to relating to others because our career taught us this. Do you
Ooh,
get what I'm saying? It's a big
snaps.
deal. It's a big deal. Okay, so
Go ahead, Doc.
let's go to another one because I got about 10 today. I got about 10 or 12. Let's talk about this. We've heard it before, and we possibly have also heard the other phrase said. I didn't make this up. The whole happy wife, happy life. Ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. Now hold on,
Oh, please,
Doc, you
please.
breaking down all of these.
That's fine. As a woman, I have to say these things because if a man said it, it would be like, how could he say this? That's why people came for Kevin Samuels, Mr. Kevin Samuels.
Rest in peace. Yes, yes.
I don't know if he's resting. There's a lot that he has to do, even on the other side, to make up for. But the truth is that at the end of the day, it's real. Like it's really real that it's really happy spouse, happy house. So
Mm.
it's possible that a man has to be reminded to remember his woman if he has selfish natures, right? But there's a thing where women, we have to make sure that he's happy, because when the only thing that you say to your man as he walks in the door is what he needs to fix today, right? That happens all the time. You go to auntie's house, grandma's house, and the first thing you walk in the door as the woman, they're like, hey baby, come over here, you want a banana or a plantain, right? And then the male comes right behind you and it's like, hey, can you go up into the attic and go get me a, right? And so men are already used to always having to fix something. And so I'm saying, just stop a little while and just check on how he's doing. You'd be surprised how much men actually talk when we're not talking.
Doc. Hold on, let me just thank Sunbreeze again, sponsoring today's stream.
Oh,
Doc,
okay.
giving us a real word. Sunbreeze, you have been amazing in terms of your support, my Patreon, as a moderator, and this generosity. I don't even deserve it. Thank you for all you do to help this channel grow. Shout out to Sunbreeze 322 West Coast in the building. So wait. Doc, you are totally unraveling a lot of
I'm aware. It's okay.
like,
I'm here to process
standard
how you
realities.
feel.
Married and single, we've always heard these things. So it is good to kind of unlearn and again, take what you want, the meat, the bones, spit it out, whatever you're going to do. But it's good to hear it because I think sometimes contrasting points of view don't get enough exposure. So
Exactly.
as you were saying, we always hear as women and men, happy wife, happy life. And you're saying it really should be happy spouse, meaning both of you, happy house. And that we are oftentimes conditioned to have men do instead of asking, as you put it, how they are, and making their well-being a priority, not just
a part of us.
their duty a priority.
Right. Because then I know I've seen plenty of people, not just women, that are never satisfied. So if it's a one-sided relationship where one person's always making sure the other's fine, then the truth is they can become entitled, kind of bratty, kind of hella spoiled, where they're really not even thinking of you, that they're so daggone self-absorbed because it's all about them in the relationship. And that could be a man as well, right? So I just want to make sure that it's reciprocal. I want this
Yes.
reciprocal relationship. There needs to be
So
some
ladies,
reciprocity.
take it with openness, because it's not saying that your happiness is not a priority, but it's that both should have their happiness as a priority. Thank you, Brick Slinger, saying conversation is an example of breaking the curse for the next generation. Thank you so much. The shower not feeling. She said, "Yeah, y'all up here saying anything. It's all good. All opinions
I'm
are
not
welcome."
worried about the share. I know that one right there. I know that one.
The common sense expert says some people are career smart and life stupid.
Oh, dang. Come on, common sense.
Notice because the simple things in life,
Okay. Common
they
sense
just
came through.
don't get it. The sheriff said, okay, happy house, happy spouse. Okay, I
Okay,
can
see
live
what I
with.
mean? You got to keep going. I'm not bashing women. I'm just letting you know, make sure that you see him.
So
You
yes, so that part is okay now. Doug says yes, that's ridiculous. Only you can make yourself happy. You can't base your happiness from another person. I think there's a lot of onus being put on others to make you happy. I agree with Doug. You got
yes,
to find happiness within yourself. Don't get married if you're not happy already, because the other person's not going to make you happy. The other person doesn't complete you. And I think some people go into it with the wrong idea. And the arbiter, good to have you here, says any man that subscribes to happy wife, happy life will eventually become a simp. Y'all love this word. And trading his pants for a skirt. Oh man, Miss Globe girl, how you doing, sis? Says, or playing the tit for tat game while intellectualizing is everything. I agree. Sometimes you're just trying to find that hole in his argument and want to break down the
right.
inability for him to express, instead of like the actual key issue, which is that you did this that hurt his feelings. So we are trying to find a way around, and to get around taking responsibility for how an act or something you said may have injured your partner, which is not, if you love them, what you should be doing. Yes, y'all talking about the facts at the arbiter, which defeats the whole purpose, because she would lose respect for any simp husband. Y'all with the simp. Oh, the chef, how are you? Says, I'm going to need us to stop saying out loud we don't deserve it when people say nice and do things to us. I'm going to need us to stop saying out loud we don't deserve it. I'm sorry, I say that. Is you talking about me? Okay. We don't deserve it when people say and do nice things. I respect that, ode to chef. I'm gonna internalize that. Thank you. Let me ponder on that, because I feel like I don't deserve it. But maybe I need to stop saying I don't deserve it. I appreciate you.
Ooh, good
I
one.
appreciate you catching that.
I
Thank you
did want
for
to share this. This just came to mind. And I bet
yes.
you this saying came from this idea.
Mm,
So, as women, we are naturally nurturers, right?
yes.
So it's possible that because it was natural for us to always make sure the man was okay, that the man had to remember that make sure your wife is okay. When she's okay, she's always going to then take care of you. So
Mm,
probably in one in the saying was, if you ever want your woman to make sure you're good, make sure that she's good. It's
right.
just that the other part was just never said. So
Yes.
I get if that's where it came from, whoever said it 1,000 years ago, and we just kept going. I just want to make sure that it's
We
reciprocal.
left out the beginning, which is you're already supposed to be giving and nurturing your husband, but
Right.
then he makes you happy so that you can continue to do so. But we've
Yes.
only emphasized the he should be
The
taking
other
care of
side.
you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it was the implicit, possibly. Thank you, Ota Chef. I appreciate you. What's going on? The Dustosphere is in the building.
Dust? I don't know what that means.
He's okay. He's hilarious,
Oh,
and
he's
yet
hilarious. Okay, okay.
scam likely. You can tell from the name.
Okay, got it.
Has very
That's funny.
interesting opinions. He was up here a couple shows ago
Oh, okay,
sharing
nice.
what
Sorry I
Black women
missed
were
that.
not doing. But we're gonna stay focused right now. Welcome everybody who's just joined. Hit the like button. Why don't you? Dr. Tasha here, helping us to unlearn what they told us, unlearning childhood dynamics that no longer serve you as an adult. You can find Dr. Tasha at drivebytherapy.org. All right, go ahead, Doc. I know you got your list. Go ahead, Doc. So that was really
Okay,
good.
so another thing to unlearn about don't trust anyone. Now, this is something that I was actually taught by a West Indian household. It was normal, and then when they said it, then they said, "Yeah, this is very normal." That we're taught only trust your family, don't trust anyone on the outside. I didn't realize that this was a very Caribbean kind of mantra, right? And so what are we teaching?
Hold
Let's
up.
just. Oh,
Shots
that's fine.
fired. My Jamaicans out there, my Haitians out there, my Trinis out there
That's
behaving.
fine.
I
It's
think,
fine.
do Black people as a whole not feel this way? Even Black American? I was taught
So
this. You
I
don't trust
believe
people.
I know where it comes from. That's and believe me, there's no, I will never be a part of the separation of Black American and West Indian
No,
because
no,
that's
no.
already
Black
happened
diaspora
and I
forever.
cannot
Yeah.
stand it. But
Yes.
what I learned was that it was actually taught and it was normalized as it was okay, more than I think I've heard from the Black American point of view of don't trust nobody outside of the family. It was more so don't trust white folks.
Oh,
So
okay.
you
So a
get
little
there was like
broader.
the difference. So it's like
Yeah.
you can possibly trust your own folks, but don't
Yeah.
trust white folks. But I
Okay.
really heard that it was like don't trust anybody outside your family. And so unfortunately, you have now set up your child who you now wondering why are you 38 years old with no man and no child, but you told her not to trust nobody at 8, 12, and 13. And now she's supposed to automatically find a way to figure this out. Like
Dog,
this
you're
is the
stepping on toes, dog. You're stepping on
it's
toes.
fine, but this is the problem because the outside guy or girl is outside of your daggone family. So do we want?
Exactly.
Are we talking about incest? Do we need to find a cousin to do? No, we're
Well,
not
let me.
saying that. We want this magical thing to happen and to unlearn it, but you didn't teach me how to trust. So that's
Yes.
how deep it goes. So you now come into my office at 47 years old, realizing that number one, not only do you not trust your spouse, you really don't even trust yourself because that wasn't taught.
Pause, dog. Pause, 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 pause.
Okay. Okay.
You're rewriting my life. You're rewriting my life, dog.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay.
as a
Okay.
Caribbean
Sorry.
American, parents from Jamaica,
Mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm.
is a huge principle. There is so much, even like reggae and dance hall songs about don't trust people, you can't trust people. Like I'm thinking about all the music. The next verse it says, "I buy my car cash because I don't even trust vehicle." Like it's a
Oh, that's
whole
deep.
culture and that is normalized. So I
Yep.
agree. Sometimes relationships that can bring even opportunity outside of
Yep.
romantic relationships, I side eye almost everybody. I'm like, what you want? When you come in, when you really gonna be, and I've gotten better at it. But
Could you imagine if someone across from you is actually trustworthy? They feel all of that. Like
yes,
that's how deep
energy.
this is. They
Yes,
actually feel all of that, and you're
yes.
not even wanting to push them away because
No.
you were conditioned to be hella skeptical.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like all I'm saying is let's learn discernment. So remember, I'm about the unlearn, not to throw it all away, right? You said chew up the meat and throw away the bone. So
Yes.
what it came from is just that you can't always trust everybody.
Right, right.
But that let's learn who we can trust and that we can trust. That's all I'm saying. Let's learn discernment
Woo.
because
That
you're turning people off that actually like you. Like they're trying to once again relate to you, but
yes.
you're hella skeptical. Like, is your name really Johnny? You see what I'm saying? Is your name really like that's your real thought?
Oh my God, Doc. I don't know if you know me that well, but
Oh
yes,
no, I did not know that that is your life. That's your real life.
no, it's
His
like no,
name
for
is
real.
really
Like
tell
we
me. I promise. His name
no
is Craig. His
conditioning
name
is
is
a heck of a
Jason.
thing, and it's not like I'm like oh mind blown, but I know that's culturally normal. That's not
Yep.
like we always and I think there are roots in the abuse of women's bodies in the Western Hemisphere.
Oh, sure, sure, sure.
No girl child, as we say, was safe
Mm-hmm.
for hundreds of years. So any man that was giving you a gift, any man that was doing something for you was automatically suspicious. Like we were very much generationally victimized. So I don't think it comes out of nowhere and like just bad practice of, oh my gosh, black people are like paranoid. I think there's so much history there. But as you're saying, within reason, we have to be sure we're not um, kind of misplacing this type of
Right, good
thought
word.
process so
Or
that we
displacing. Yeah,
now
misplacing,
can't
displacing. Mhm.
go at the basketball court, play pickleball. And I'll put this in. This came in my, I don't know if you guys play pickleball, but this what came to my mind. The whole, and this is always talked about on the manosphere. I'm not going to like be the arbiter of when black women smile, but I think a lot of times I'm trying to identify threats. And just me personal, not every black
Mm.
woman walking this earth, even though that person, again, you don't know them, it's like a 2-second interaction in the mall, 2 seconds on the street, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There is this kind of presumption of men are a threat or presumption of this person can be a threat to me. I'm afraid. And again, that comes from social conditioning about black bodies and about black men and all kinds of stuff that we, even as women, black women, can be susceptible to. But I think sometimes, at least ladies, let's question why. I was walking with a homeboy who happens to be a pastor, and we were talking about singleness and marriedness. He's married. No funny business. But then we were walking out of lunch, and like a dude passed me, And I kind of looked to the ground or whatever. He was like, you didn't make no eye contact with it. And I was like, because I don't want no problem. But he
Wow.
was like, well, Sue, how you go see if, y'all might have a chemistry or whatever. But my instinct is to gotta like look down, look away, not to
Wow.
generally. But in certain social situations where I feel comfortable, it's like, hey, your eye contact is like flowy. So I don't know, Doc. There may
Oh, but
be
it's
so much
interesting. If
there.
we break that down with what your example just said, basically,
Yes.
when you're in control, you're able to be yourself in terms of personality and be open. But when you're on
Mm,
the receiving end and you're not aware of what's
right.
coming your way,
The intent.
right. So when you just said, when I'm doing this, like when you're able to orchestrate, then you're
Yes.
showing up. But the
Yes.
truth is, just to let you know, you are a receiver.
Oh
Sorry
Lord,
to
help
tell
me,
you.
God. Help
Right.
me,
So we don't have to, there's a, maybe that's another show about like, you might have to put your penis away on
God.
this.
Ooh,
It's fine.
Doc.
Not just you, but you see what I'm
All
saying?
the medicine today, Doc. All the medicine today.
Oh, it's fine. This is what we're here for. You might want to.
Doc
I've thought
said,
about writing that as a book. I've thought about writing it as a book. If whoever wants to steal it, that's your thing. Jesus will watch you.
no, but no, that has
But
been said,
yeah,
and people get offended by it because people feel like it's misogynistic or putting women down by saying that. But I think it's more if
but I
it
love
comes
how you said your vulnerability was it's a threat. So that's the vulnerability of, for whatever reason, I see men as a threat. Your
exactly,
married male friend who cares about you, it's like, hey, you might want to look at that so you can reposition yourself. Because if he was to like you, he has to just know that you're going to receive from him and
exactly,
like him if he was to come towards you. That's
yeah.
a big deal when it comes to flirting and mating, right? He has to look at your eyes and see a little like warmth.
Okay,
Right?
I'm welcome. Yeah,
Right.
this
That's
is
it.
Miami, Doc. I don't be knowing what these dudes be.
I know, but I've told a lot of women like, if number one, if he wanted all that masculinity, he would want a man, right? He'd be gay. That's number one. But the truth is, there's a reason why men love women, and there's like the woo man part of us is there's like warmth in our bosom. So if we can make it to where they want to lean into us, like literally, like they want to like the pillow is hard. I mean, it's softened, right, and not hard. Where they just want to lean in. It's the best feeling. Um, and then we can, type A ourselves and alpha up. Like really great men love great women. It's just they want to be able to at home just put their head down on something soft, not hard, just
Lay
something
your
soft.
head down. Lay your head down.
Hey, yeah, it's a real thing.
Tasha
It's a
doing
real
work.
thing.
Y'all hit the like button. I'm literally, again, I do these shows for me as well as everybody else. So again, if it applies to you, if the shoe fits, if the hat fits, well,
So
whatever.
let's talk about this one thing that you just reminded
Go
me. Or
ahead.
sorry, did you want to?
No,
Did you
go
have
ahead,
something? Okay.
please.
Now this is deep. And there's a thing, and this isn't really just the a certain household, but I have heard that certain communities are more like this. But it's about how you cannot spend the night at nobody's house.
Doctor, you don't tell me all my business. Go ahead, Doc. Don't tell me.
Okay. I mean, it's a real thing. So we are normalizing that because it happened to you,
Mm.
you are literally now mothering or parenting from a place of fear. And your child, which is very fun, right? You say they can come to my house, but you can't go to theirs, right? Well, what if your husband the one that's touching little girls? You know what I'm saying? You
Hold
forgot that part somehow. You know what I mean? It's like we don't want the other person's, older brother do nothing but
brother,
in the
uncle.
house.
Okay,
No,
put a one in the chat if you were not allowed to go to sleepovers. You know what? My mom was probably prejudiced. I was only allowed to go to sleepovers at white Jewish my friends' houses, but my
see,
black friends, no,
because she didn't
no,
trust them, right? Because all Black
no.
Americans are
Put a
ratchet.
one if you were not. Put a one if you were not allowed to go to sleepovers. Now, did we have sleepovers over my house where my black friends could come over my house? 100%. They
Right. So
could come
look
over.
at the hypocrisy.
Yes.
So we're wanting their parents to trust your household, which I'm
Exactly.
glad hopefully it was trustworthy. But
Yes.
it's unfortunate because it's coming from fear. And is it justifiable fear? Yes.
People
People
do
really
crazy
do
stuff to
that.
people's children. Like that
No,
happens.
truly. But then are we gonna do all because it happened when you went to your grandma's house or your
Yeah.
uncle's house? Is it all? So I'm actually just making sure we can discern between am I parenting out of fear or am I parenting out of faith? Because I do like this actual our couple's friends over here. And we do want to go on a date night. And can we just let them go to their friend's house for 3 or 4 hours?
Doc,
And
I'm not
maybe
gonna
not.
let them sleep over though. Doc, I'm not gonna let them sleep.
Yeah, I'm just saying that everybody ain't a
That
child
hurts, and
molester. I'm just
I'm
letting
like,
you know,
why
everybody
wouldn't
is
I?
not a child molester.
But I'm very skeptical of, I would hate if I had a child for someone to abuse my child. Like, I obviously, that's a parent's, one of their greatest fears. You don't want it, and you think about all the people that are just weird right now. But I hear what you're saying. When you operate from a place of fear, like there's no, like your child learns fear. I don't, that's how I was brought up. And again, I'm not saying that it serves me. Thank God nothing ever happened to me. Thank God I was, okay. Like I said, I could go to my Jewish friends' houses
Yeah, your
and
mom
we
was
could sleep
teaching you
over,
that life
the
is better.
Krauses, and we could sleep over the Lefkowitzes, but I could not sleep over, the Johnsons. Like, I'm trying to think, did we have I had a Black American Girl Scout troop.
Wow.
And I'm like, did we do sleepovers over there? I think, yeah, I did go to sleepaway camp with the Girl Scouts. I went to
Okay,
sleepaway
that was
camp.
good.
So that was huge. And that was like about 5 mothers for 15
Oh my
girls.
gosh.
But we were well, staffed, etc. But I think about that. So your contention is that those, especially that specific principle, doesn't really serve us well and brings fear into the child's life. Let me see. We got a bunch of ones. The common sense said that only applied to my sister's Globe, Miss Globe Girl. You know what I'm talking about. Kim Riley, you know what I'm talking about. It's Bennett. Thank you, Deshara. Yes, this is
Oh, that was tricky
yes.
in Atlanta.
I could never spend the night at anyone's house, not even relatives. Thank you, 40 Boom. I appreciate you being here. But yeah, interesting. So you're saying, so give me your contention again. So with this
So what
type,
I'm saying is let's look at that because
yeah,
what you're saying is I am fearful of my child being touched because I was touched by family members. Let's just say that. That is okay to say.
right.
I'm saying, is it possible that you can also look at it and then see some consistency, meet the other parents, other kids' parents, whatever their friends are, and at some point get to that place of trust that I said earlier about the trust, don't trust anyone, the
Okay.
same way that you want them to trust your household. I'm just saying, maybe we can up our discernment. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I'm saying instead of it just be all or nothing. I am not saying
Mhm.
unlearn it fully. I'm saying let's find a way to refocus your fear of incest, your fear of molestation and rape. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. Just that everybody's this way is not true. That's all I'm saying. That
All right.
everybody that this way is not true. Because unfortunately, let me tell you how that kid then grows up. Like they sometimes aren't even they like literally are like isolated. Have you ever
Mm,
talked to the kid that's 12? They're in my office. Have you ever talked to the kid that's 16 and 17? Like
mm,
there's some social skills that they actually are missing
mm.
because it's something beautiful about when you can relate to your kids or your friends as a teenager outside of school,
Yeah.
right? Like that's all I'm saying. So I know I'm fine with people coming for me. I'm just letting you know how the child then grows up and how it also shows how you are still moving it from an unhealed place.
Fear. I think that's true. I think I feel like even in my own life, I have to unlearn fear. I noticed that, especially like my mom growing up in like a very country town, they grew up without like electricity and things like this in the countryside of
Oh,
Jamaica.
that's deep.
So her mindset always from would like grew up from a place of protect yourself. Don't do this. Like I was always like, why are you like everything is like a haunted house? Like I'm like, calm it down. But it was always from a place I think of how they grew up. Things were dark, things were spooky, the roads were unsafe. People died frequently. So I get why in their kind of practice of life to survive, they were had to do other things.
Oh, they had to.
Yeah, what are some of the tips? We're gonna get this great question. Okay, wait, I had to leave house parties to go to a restaurant to get something to eat. T Bennett, we're gonna get to this. What are some tips and tools to unlearn these implants? We're gonna get to that. Good day. Go ahead, Doc. So just making sure you're not installing fear unnecessarily without using discernment. And again, everybody is not trustworthy, but perhaps there are more trustworthy people than we're giving credit for. So I get that. I get
It's
that.
so scary to the point
Yeah.
that, man, and this is so deep, that we always ask the young girl that's between like 5 and 15, like, is anybody touching you? Right? We literally are like, make sure you
No,
tell me.
I will be having that conversation. Anybody
It's
touch you?
so
Anybody?
deep, right? But we're not talking to our sons about self-control and how to keep
Mm,
his hands to himself when he's feeling impulsively sexual.
wow.
That's all I'm saying. Like, who's stepping your child to the side of like, hey, this is your sister. So you don't have to ask the little girl, has your brother done anything or has your uncle done anything?
Step
You can actually
brother.
talk to the uncle and the
Yes.
brother and really say, like, number one, you're not gonna touch your little sister. But number
Right.
two, let's talk about like you are gonna get actually like aroused by certain things. And
Right.
this needs to be appropriated, in this area when you're whatever age your parents are going to allow you at 14 in high school, or
Right.
when you're 25 and 30, where you understand how to read your cues, honey. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's the real conversation with your young man, not
Mm.
focusing on the young girl of let mama know if when you're ever
Right.
being
And you
touched.
protect yourself more so. Let's set some principles for those who are also going to be interacting with that little girl. I hear you.
Absolutely.
I hear
That's
you.
all. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do
Go
another
ahead.
one. If I hear another elder woman say this to a woman, okay? Okay. It's just a man being a man. Okay. So we're just giving passes
Oh,
to men who have outside children, a whole nother family. Well, at least he came home at night. I've heard all this. Well, at least
the
he never
side
got caught with
chickness.
a baby. At least he never I never came back burning. He never came back burning. I've heard all of these things. And it's just a man, grandmas, right? The folks that you like to listen to because you want that same relationship. But
Mm.
I don't understand what this is that we keep like trying to reinforce. Can we unlearn that? And I'm saying this to all my good brothers that are offended when women don't even see them as trustworthy, as not liars, as not cheaters. These things really exist. Hello?
Yes.
That
Yes.
don't like monogamy. That's just a
Yes.
man being a man. How dare you? How
Right.
dare you pull a man to a place that he is not able to exceed or to exude self control? They are
Right.
able to, ladies, just so you
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
you are able to. So who in
Mm.
the world is saying it's just a woman to be a woman when if a woman ain't happy at home, she gonna get it outside? Like who's
We
saying that
can't say
outside?
that. That's definitely not
No
the
one is saying that.
no, no.
Even though women are cheating on men more than men are cheating on women,
Well.
right? We're just not getting caught, but we so worried about the men.
Right.
That's just a man being a man. I've heard it so much, it disgusts me. If I could throw up every time I hear it, that's how I feel.
And the fact that it is a part of that, let's just tolerate all this bad behavior. At least you got a man. I've heard people say, a piece of man is better than no
Oh
man.
yeah.
I have let me not tell my family business that I think they got it going on because they are the side chick. And I want to be like,
Oh,
sis,
it's a real thing.
you're losing. You're losing.
Well, you
But
have no dignity. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like when you look in the mirror when no one's around, you're actually not that proud of yourself. Because I
no.
talked to plenty of
But they
mistresses.
making me feel bad because I ain't got no piece of man, and they got a piece of like that. I 100% that unlearning of like a piece of man is better than no man is really sickening for
That's
me.
a good one. That's another good
Yeah,
one
and
to
I've heard that
unlearn.
people have said in my face. I'm like, bruh, I can't even entertain this energy because it is a perpetuating just a bad like to me. Real men take responsibility. Real men take accountability.
True. And real men have integrity. Like,
Yes,
what do
and
you mean? Like,
exactly.
not
So
real men. Men that
if you're
have
having to live in
integrity exist.
a
Yes,
lie and tolerate people who to me
exactly.
disrespect their
Okay.
own family, I don't roll with it, and I find it's an integrity issue, and I don't have respect for people without integrity. So I feel like man or woman, if you're saying to yourself, I gotta keep this man, so he gonna be like this, and I gotta work with him through, I'm not talking about what should I say. Ongoing indiscretion is a problem for me.
Ongoing.
So
That's
I
a good way
think
to say it.
that
Yes,
those
but you were
those
taught to not leave. You were taught not to leave by
yeah,
aunties and
no,
grandmas and
100%.
yeah, you
He
were
can
taught
do what
not
he
to
want
leave.
to do, and he's gonna be a man. Yeah, this is a hard part of the truth and realities of what we
But
are.
she's hurting. That's what's deep. Like the grandma has said this, but she's been hurting. She's been in the bedroom crying
Yeah,
about
yeah.
hers. And instead of actually telling her granddaughter and daughters about, like, next time I love your father, but when you pick a man, make sure that he's blah, 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 whatever that is. But let's not
Mm-mm.
just allow it to be okay. So that's what I'm saying. It's just you're giving all these passes that I don't know. I don't like it
Yeah,
at
no,
all. We're
it's
just giving
very interesting.
accountability.
That has been kind of like for many circles tolerated. Miss Globe Girl, I just have to read this. My mother and sisters and dad protect themselves from, this is a Jamaican folklore, black heart man and rolling calf. This is like a type of
Oh,
ghost
teach
story.
me.
Yeah.
Teach me.
So black heart man is I don't, again, it was like a way, I think, to scare kids into compliance. Don't go over there because you're gonna find black heart man, or black
Oh,
heart
I
man
see.
gonna
I
eat
see.
you, or black heart man gonna come get you. Like, it was like, I don't know if it was from slavery or what it meant,
No,
but
we
it
know
was,
it's all from,
yeah, it was
unfortunately.
just compliance. Be afraid so that you don't probably die. And we'll call it Black Heart
Yeah.
Mana Rolling Calf. That was very popular as like, kind of like, again, to scare your children into compliance. My son is allowed to attend sleepovers. I meet parents and ask tons of questions. However, he isn't allowed to stay the night at his white Jewish friend's house because they're kind of weird. Deshara, got your point. But my white Jewish friends were cool. Like, they were actually, those were the best sleepovers. So I know I say who they were in terms of race and color, but those, their parents were normal. Like, their parents were really cool, honestly, and just relatable. Not that black parents weren't, but theirs were very much on the same wavelength as my parents. So my mom liked them, and there I was.
Your mom came from a point, a world where white is better, so she just
Probably so too. Probably
perpetuated
so
that.
too. She was looking like,
Unfortunately,
Sue, you're not going there. You're going over there. Sad to
yep.
say.
Sad to say.
Actually, very sad to say. Deshara, I've heard all these things, and it's sad. Rosalind said, and don't forget to make sure no one is touching your boys. Yes, 100%, Dr.
Oh,
Tasha.
all day, Rosalind. Thank you for saying that.
Yes,
That's a
quick to
whole
tell a
nother
man,
conversation.
if you razzle, I'm gonna dazzle. It's a equal okay, quick to tell a man, if you yes, this is something that we've learned. If you do this, I'm fire. You want to take this first punch, I'm gonna take two more. That's a crazy, and it's a masculine position. It's you, this not to back down. You gonna slap, I'm gonna slap harder. You gonna hit, I'm gonna throw a double punch. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
is very much taught to a lot of women, and it's not. It's us operating outside of, to me, that grace and femininity that we're supposed to have. But we're it's like a defensive mechanism, like
Yeah.
huge. And oh, thank you for the super chat, out here trucking. Appreciate you.
Oh, nice.
Congrats. Thank you so much, Jeremy, on your 1 year anniversary being a content creator on YouTube. Much continuous success to you, Suzette. You're awesome. I gotta go, but he probably trucking. But I'll be here. Sure, I'll be sure that I rewatch this broadcast. Shout out to you and your guests. Thank you.
Very nice. That's very
Appreciate
nice.
it. Yes, Robert, we gonna talk. He talking about 1 year after KS, and women still have discussions about our brothers. He informed us that 61% of men are middle class. We're going into a different direction, Robert. But thank you. We're not really going into the Pookie and Ray Rays. I see your follow up. He says Pookie and Ray Ray have defined the story of the United States, but it is not true. I received that. Thank you again for doing great dialogue, Suzette. Awesome.
Oh, I love
Okay, I
that.
got you, Robert. I wasn't feeling you. I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. Because we're not really focused on Pookie and Ray Ray today. It's more so, again, what are we taking into relationships? What are we taking into friendships that does not serve us? But these were things that we grew up with. Again, big shout out to Jeremy on the super chat, showing love today, and blessings to you, my friend. But yeah, so we're talking about men, and men can do whatever they want. That's something that is real in our community that we excuse or we say, yeah, it's a man being a man, girl, and you running down your man and tracking phone and playing Nancy Drew and detective, and I've been there with friends, honestly, Dr. Tasha. I'm like, why am I in this car right now with this young lady? I'm like, if
Why
he
do I
comes
have
out
this
with a
in my
woman,
hand in front of this tire? Oh
exactly.
my
I'm like, am I an accessory right now? What's gonna happen if he comes out
You
of this
are.
restaurant with this
You
girl?
are.
I am
You are.
not cheaters. Like, and like I've been there trying to be a ride or die for friendship. And I was just like, this is so beneath you, sis. This is so not like what love is. And if we have to do all this, does he really love you, or do you really need him the way you think you do? So I hear that. So men being a man, and you pointed out a good one too, Deshara. You basically, I'll call it the nuck if you buck principle. You want to come with fire?
Never
I'm
heard of
gonna
that
come
one.
hotter than you. That's terrible. That's terrible. We got to really rethink that. Go ahead, Doc. I know you got time constraints, but go ahead.
I could do one more. I could do one more, and then
Okay.
talk about how to get past it.
Yes.
Well, one or two, one or two.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One is very about what we heard. I don't even know if it's at home or just socialized to think that opposites attract. I actually don't agree with it.
Why not?
Yeah, I truly believe that, someone can be your yin to your yang. I do believe in that. That's very cute when you complement each other. So I'm not saying that. But when it's complete opposites, I'm talking about opposites. A
Okay.
lot of times those couples come into my office because they literally do not spend a lot of time together because of what each of them like to do. Like if you think about
Mm,
it, everybody wants to know, like, who do I know when the partner's like the one and all these things. I have a talk show coming up, and that's literally the question of, do you still believe in the one? But the
mm,
truth is, if love and logistics go together, both of them, then we can start talking about like commitment and forever. Like logistically, he actually works. And sometimes when opposites attract, then you literally are in almost, you both are kind of moving single in a relationship. It's not a lot of togetherness because you both don't want to do it, or the other's resentful while doing what you like to do. That is what I'm saying. It's very, very simple. I'm just saying, make sure there's some shared things that you actually like.
okay, Doc, I
Oh,
want you to get through your list because I really want to hear some of these
no,
things. But
go, go, go. What did you see? You heard
no,
something?
he said very enlightening. Thank you for that. Opposites do not attract. Agrees the world class. Go ahead. What are other things that we
Oh, just
hear?
one other thing. That's a thing to unlearn. But remember, I'm not saying completely. I
Yes.
am saying the ones that are completely opposite. You're then forcing it. I'm saying make sure there is something in the middle that's mutual. That's it.
Got you.
And then this one is definitely post-traumatic slave syndrome right here.
Mm,
Or those hardworking people who want to make sure their boss knows that they've been at work every day, all day. And they just want to have like a good attendance, that you can take a break. I just want to tell those. It's very unfortunately in the mentality for those. I'm talking about the folks that are not lazy. Some of y'all taking too many breaks and justifying them. I say it all the time. Like when people are trying to lose weight and they get like they start say on Monday we gonna do this, this, and this, and then on Saturday they think they deserve. Like what did you do? You did
mm,
5 days of a workout. You don't deserve a break. So right,
mm,
you have to earn the break. But for those that are literally the workaholics, and at sometimes like you just are on such the grind that you forget that you deserve a break, I'm just letting you know, like make sure that you remember when you take a break, you're not losing the momentum. Some people are
mm,
always scared of, if the money's coming in now, then let me keep going at it. But you'll just never be balanced. And
mm.
I want you to be balanced. And so I want to tell you, get off the plantation at times because it's not going to go anywhere. That's it. Don't forget that you also deserve a break. Those hardworking people out there that forget to take a sick day or a vacation day. We
I
got to
feel it.
unlearn that. Our the generation before us wanted to stay at the same job for 30 years and then never take a break. Like they didn't take off. And that was a badge of honor, and I understand it, but it comes from 1800s, 1700s of we were given a dime, you know what I mean, and some
Mm,
non-running water in the back.
you're
So
right.
nah, we've come too far. Give yourself a
Yeah,
break.
I think that's a very big issue for us as African Americans in the United States. Hey, Sandy B. Law. Hey, Ice B. I see you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Um, Especially as African Americans in this kind of context in the United States where it's always like prove yourself. There are microaggressions all around you. People are always trying to question your intelligence,
Yep, we got to
your
work harder than
ideas,
them.
take your ideas and make them your own. And then all of a sudden it becomes a bigger issue. You know, it can be very,
Yep,
it's stressful when you are constantly trying to prove that you're not what the stereotype is. It's very stressful. Or
exactly. That's
you're
it.
you gotta step off the, and I think the Zennials have done a great job at this. They're like, guess what,
Oh, yeah.
we're not gonna be here at all anyway, so
I
we can keep it
know.
moving. I'm gonna take one quick guest, Doc. I know you gotta go.
Oh, let's go. You
Let's
want
go.
to you want to have some more?
Go ahead.
Hey,
So scam likely, how are you? Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
afternoon. How you doing? All is
Good.
well.
What are your thoughts on today's combo?
Um, I'm just curious about why. I guess it is what it is. But you're saying when you were growing up, you couldn't stay at black people's house, but you stay at other races.
No, I stayed at, let me
Hers
clarify.
was opposite. Hers was opposite. But someone
Yeah.
said that before. So two people
No,
have.
someone inferred that my mom was thinking that I couldn't stay at. I don't think it was. If you knew those folks that were at my school, I don't think she trusted them. But I think this scenario that I posed that happened to be white Jews, they were cool people. The parents were cool people in general. So it would happen to be me at their houses more than at other people's house, but other people were allowed to come to my house.
So I believe it was class, right? So people, we
I think it
forget
was
about,
more class than race,
and so
honestly.
that doesn't justify it still being
No,
discrimination or
right.
prejudice. But the truth is, those other folks that you were not able to just happen to be Black, but they were of a different class than the way your mother saw
100%.
yourself. This
100%.
happened to me as well. I remember when my mother, she said something, and then I was like, "Are you talking like as if they're like under us?" I was bothered in high school, and I cried. I was bothered. But she was unapologetically believing that a different class, means that you can't be with them, but they can then be with us. So go ahead, Desto. What are
Go
you?
ahead. And your question? Go ahead, Desto.
No, I don't know. I wasn't taught growing up the white boogeyman stories.
Where did you grow up?
Virginia.
Okay.
Actually, I grew up in a black neighborhood. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was a nice black neighborhood. 2-car garages, adjustable goals, green grass, all that. Black married families, black actual community. Unlike what you see today.
Mm-hmm.
But I just
We
wasn't taught this white boogeyman, and um, I just wasn't taught this stuff.
Okay.
I don't get why, when it comes to stuff like going to the gym or solutions to actual direct problems, they keep throwing the white man what he did in 1426, 1878. Why is there some kind of foundation in there?
You don't
Or
get it at all. You're saying you don't get why it still continues to come up in 2022.
I don't get, okay, supposedly, like I'm about to go to the gym after this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The gym I'm going to go to, well, a whole nother topic. There's no black women in there, but that's a whole nother topic. But
Okay.
there's racism people
Desto
in there.
believes more black women going to the gym would solve problems with our community coming together. May
I'm
I?
not mad.
Yeah. The
I'm not mad.
community, well, the
They
community
are
is
at
there.
brunch. They are at brunch. They
We're
out
at the
doing.
buffet. They are
I
there.
went to the gym this morning, Desto. Damn. I went.
Thank you for going to the gym.
Okay. Okay. So
But
back to
anyway,
your point. Okay.
person is fat, you go to the gym.
You
Uh-oh.
muted yourself. That wasn't me. Desto, whatever you click.
Oh dang! You gotta
That
come back.
wasn't me. Okay. Go ahead.
I unplugged the wire. But
Okay.
person is broke, go make some money. Person got traumatic issues, go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Go look in the mirror, go do something to increase your confidence. Every solution, most of them are internal. Most of them can be fixed in the mirror or just by doing the work.
Okay.
I've never seen a white man standing in front of me saying that you can't do that. I just don't get where to what degree that they're still talking about this in 2022.
So can I answer this?
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Quickly? So I can appreciate you saying this because I believe it's very genuine and sincere. I remember, and I could give you a little bit of how I grew up. I grew up in Michigan, in Arbor, Michigan, Ypsilanti area. And I always say I kind of grew up in a white neighborhood, but we had the biggest house in the whole neighborhood. So I didn't have this idea of white folks that are better than me the way that I did, right? That's the majority that's in this country. And so I had to learn, like you are talking, like, when did the white folks be scared? What did they become scary? And then let me tell you, when I figured it out, I'm in grad school, I'm 29 years old, and I realized all the microaggressions that I have been dealing with for 30 years, even though no one has blatantly called me the N-word. So you literally move a certain way. So it's a blessing that your parents brought you up in a neighborhood where you saw more equality. That's a blessing. But for you to deny that you move in a way that is making sure that you probably aren't too scary around all communities, that is something that you were taught. So you might have been socialized to do the things that I'm telling you come from being enslaved as a people 400 years ago. I'm telling you, and we could go back and forth for this for the next 4 hours. I'm telling you, there are things about you that are so innate. That's the disgusting part. Not disgusting, you're disgusting, but it's how like it's been so like intertwined in our world in America that we actually think this is normal. For instance, let me give you a small one. To drive from Virginia to like Mississippi and then come to Florida and then go to like Midwest Chicago, like this is literally a road trip. I guarantee you, you are thinking how you do not want to stop in the middle of the night in that Mississippi rest stop because you really don't know what you're going to get. Now, in your mind, you might say, well, that's just safety. But let me tell you, white folks ain't thinking that.
I
And
disagree.
that's you disagree that you would not be thinking about it being 12 midnight and you need to gas up?
I think there's more microaggressions within your own race than it is. Because the persons you're worried about, I used to live in Houston. So I
Okay,
grew up in
I
Houston,
used to live
Virginia.
in Houston too, in
Yeah,
the
let's stay in
Fairland
Houston.
area.
Yeah, my family's all from Michigan. I drove to Michigan 12 hours from Virginia. I live in Florida now. It's more about don't stop in a bad neighborhood. And those are black people who are going to grease you. And they might take your life. I lived in Atlanta. You don't go to some of these gas stations. Those are black people. When a police officer, when 70, 80% of them are, well, not in DeKalb County or in Fulton, black or white, police come up, you feel more safe than the people who are already there. So people are crying about the police. The people who are going to oppress you are your own color. Or the bad Hispanic neighborhoods in Houston, they the ones going to grease you. On your job, and jobs who have been greased by the most, black single women and white women of married or single. Black married women look out for me. Single ones, they'll try to grease you. So all of the microaggressions, um, shady people they come in all colors. When I was in the military, I didn't see
I
racism.
agree. I
Black,
I
agree.
think
white,
I
Hispanic,
think both
Asian.
things can be true, Dusto. Go ahead.
But the boogeyman, you grew up in a white neighborhood. According to what these people are saying, you can't buy a house there because of redlining. They still thinking about that from 1822. You can't do, you know them people. It's the white community. You ain't allowed. I was like, that's not true. There's no DNA testing to get into a
Dusto,
community.
do you acknowledge that there are remnants of overtly racial and racist laws
Most
that
of
have
them are
affected?
black.
Pardon?
Yes, and most of them are black, and they're not on paper.
Most of them are black laws. Give me an example. What you mean? Because I was going to finish my statement. Let me say,
Oh,
like,
go
do
ahead.
you think there are laws that were enacted by governments in the United States at a state level, national level, local level that prevented black people from acquiring the same opportunities of freedom and financial um,
Yes,
prosperity as our white brothers and sisters?
yes. I'm not going to deny what happened, and I'm not going to deny something, but I'll say 70, 80% of the problem in 1958 and whatever had to do with race. Now it's probably about 8% that got to do with race. And people are still carrying on some boogeyman that doesn't even exist.
And you
You
think
know,
it has to do with what now?
um,
Our major problems in the black community come from.
well, there is no black community, but um,
But why? How did we get here? So I do get what you're saying now to be true. How did we get here?
um, biggest thing is lack of fathers. More fathers, more money, more
How did
everything.
we get there?
How
Okay,
did we get
very
to the
good.
lack of
How did we
fathers?
get there?
According to the narrative, the lack of fathers is the white man walked in every neighborhood, knocked on the door, and said, "Excuse me, are you black? Yes. Are those your kids? Get out your house."
That's not what
And
I'm
that
saying.
didn't happen.
So
That's
it
so
happened.
that's
That's
not
what the
exactly.
narrative is.
There are parts of that are true. I don't know exactly where you got that from, but I'm sure it may have been true. But before that, there was a part of just where they were
Hmm.
being sold down the men, the black men, because they would be nice and tough and ready and physical to make sure I do even more work for you, sir. Right? He was sold because we couldn't carry as much, right? So they then separated the family. So I do believe that it is unfortunate that what happened from 400 years ago is prevalent today, where the white man don't even have to do nothing
Yeah, to you because the
because
remnants
now
of
the black
every
folks are doing
the
it to
systemic
themselves because
division.
we were oppressed.
We
So
didn't get the
you
same
are
amount
right,
of housing of the GI Bill. Crack
right?
cocaine was not made in Harlem and all these other neighborhoods that literally decimated people's minds and lives and livelihoods. Actually, the largest users of crack cocaine were white. But they have studies that show that in places like LA, no one white was arrested for crack cocaine violations between you can look at it in like the mid 1980s to the late 1990s. These things are systematic. Do you deny them?
I'm saying, I'm gonna say it. I don't deny that racism and some stuff exists. I'm not denying that it existed, but why 22 looks the way that it does?
Because
That
we have so much healing to do. Can I speak to you from like a clinical standpoint?
That's sort of the go
I
ahead.
do believe that we can't stop here and just make excuses and stay on the we are mad at the white guy.
I
I'm
agree with
10
that.
4, 10 4 to that. But we got so much healing to do. We just got what I feel like we just got free like 50 years ago. Like just to really be
On
seen,
paper.
for us to even talk this way, right? For us to have professions and to speak this way because we can read now. Like you see what I'm saying? We just got to start to be able to read and go to school, right? So the idea is this now that we're here, we're just got this expedited desire that we then are better, you know what I mean, than we are right now. And I'm saying be on the healing side versus I just watched Woman is King on Sunday, and there's a line in the movie that I said even in my nooner on Instagram that I do on Mondays, and I said, "Dear Kanye, you are starting to sound like the oppressor, and I want you to be very careful, Mr. Dusto, because you are having there's a little thread." Of you literally sounding like the oppressor, your own oppressor, that you can desire. You can hear me because I'm trying to give you the most sincere feedback because I hear your heart. But just so you know, and that was the line in the movie, like you got to be very careful that we can actually only think the way that we were taught, forgetting that we were taught this and it was ingrained in us and it was against us. It literally is like a self-hatred that we have to work on that we do not have, which is what you're exuding when you are talking about your own people the way you just did, where white folks don't have to do no talk show about this. You literally brought this in. You brought this in, not versus we got a lot of work to do versus
I,
I'm more scared of the black man. That really is something you just said. So we got a lot
no,
of work to do. That's all I'm saying. Let's do the work in the community. Let's not point the finger of that we just got here. We
I'm
just
gonna let
got
Dusto respond, and then I'm gonna give
no. The
Dr.
point
Tasha.
being,
Go ahead.
when you
and then
talk
I'm
about self,
Yeah,
when you talk,
she has to go, but go ahead, Dusto. Your
okay,
final
when you
comments on
talk
it.
about self oppression, the movie Woman King, watching that, taking and supporting a movie called Woman King, that's already something wrong. And then Kanye West, why is he some kind of leader?
I guess
And we
we
talk
both agree
about
on
doing
that.
the work. We talk about doing the work. Uh, Work is the solution. Solutions have been presented to African American people. They said no. It has nothing to do with white. They said no to the solutions.
We
And
don't
it's
have enough time
presented
to
by
unpack what you just said, but I guess I don't agree necessarily, because the solutions that are across this board, I guess we might have to leave it there, Dusto, because again, Dr. Tasha's time is
Mhm.
a little bit short today, but I understand what you're saying when you're saying that we have to be self-determining, self-reliant, self-empowered.
we
Those
do.
concepts I agree with, but
Right.
I don't agree with the denial of a systemic oppression that even if you're talking about family from Virginia, where you're from, or where you guys are from in Michigan or wherever, that
Mhm.
has you started at the starting line, but I'm starting 20 meters behind you on the starting line on purpose. And then now it's 2022 and we're like, oh, why aren't you running this race, or why aren't you where I am? Well, I couldn't be. When you were allowed to invest in stocks and bonds and mutual funds, I was still in shackles. When you were getting free land for 10 cents in Florida and your family owns acres and acres, I went to school with them. I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, you own all these cattle farms. You've been in Florida, quote unquote, since 1920, when land was 10 cents an acre. And now I'm looking at you and you're running the state. Your people are on the ag committee. Your people are doing all this other stuff. And I'm sitting here like learning it for the first time. I'm not mad at them, but I have a very real concept of I wasn't even given permission to sit at that very table. We had 10 years of Reconstruction, maybe 15 if you want to call it, after the Civil War, where people were even allowed to run for the very offices. And now you're telling me to ignore all of Jim Crow, ignore all of the Black Code era, ignore all of when we finally got on paper equality and say everything now is on you. I don't know that we can agree on that point. I don't know. And that may be okay for us to disagree. But I do believe in self-empowerment. I do believe in self-determination. I do believe if you're waiting for the very system that oppresses you to save you, you're in a sinking boat. I agree with that. The
Yeah,
system's
it's
not
like asking
designed
a
to
thief
put
to
you
help
ahead.
you find something, like asking a thief to help you find
Right.
something.
Exactly.
I'm not denying the starting point. I'm not denying that um, I'm not denying starting point, and I'm also not denying that it exists. The part that I'm saying is And this is the thing that does frustrate me is not towards y'all. There's a starting point and there's a person. He's 28 and he doesn't have anything. He's now introduced to solutions. And instead of solutions, he goes and grabs a history book from 1822 and focuses on that he's spending his time worrying about what do you call it? Reparations and
oppression
right. The gym is open. Amazon's hiring. And college, you get a Pell Grant and go to school for free. Those are solutions. But they want to run over here complaining about a white man. If you complain about a white man, give me a name. In 1822, you can give a name. My grandfather worked in the plant. He could give you a name. It was that dude right over there. When he went to these places, you can't go in here because that was different. Now, the solutions, and it's not like you got to own 5,000 pieces of land. Can you go to Amazon? Can you go drive a truck? Can you make enough to feed your family? Nothing wrong with you making 48 and your wife making 41. Who's stopping you from doing that?
Nothing at all. I will agree.
Your point is, well,
especially when they have YouTube, they have a cell phone, right? And they have a cell phone. And it's usually 5 people who look like me that's actually talking to them, willing to help. And if
I hear your point. I think we're like apples and oranges a little bit, but you're saying use what is at your disposal now, practical, the internet.
Yeah.
All this information is available. I don't want to hear you complaining or using it as an excuse. I want you to be enacting based on all the opportunities that are in front of you.
And that's the do.
I agree.
That's the do. We're just talking about, we're saying the same. The do is right. What you're saying is the do. I'm talking about the be. Yeah. For you to know that you can do well driving a truck, making 6 figures. I'm talking about the be, that you feel whole as a man versus 3/5 of what they made you feel. Like that's how deep it goes. We talk about the be. I'm talking about the be.
I think because Dusto has a full sense of self because how he was raised in Black in a prominent neighborhood. I think that's a beautiful thing because your mindset don't think of yourself as less. But I'm telling you, poverty bastardized Black American culture. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Poverty and drugs. That's not our true culture. But when you are doing things in desperation, your whole culture of what principles you live by, what we call community existed prior to infiltration of, again, I watch the Netflix show, and so I gotta let you go because I gotta let Tasha go. Watch the Netflix show called Crack, just to even talk about our government's complicity in either purposefully or turning a blind eye to what was going on in Nicaragua in the 80s under Reagan, and how this influx into our communities changed the face of the Black community into what we are still experiencing. What you're talking about, fatherlessness, what you're talking about is poverty mindset that is lingering. But I can't go into it anymore, Dusto. You're always welcome on this panel. I appreciate you stirring this pot. Let's go and pick up yourself. I hope we get to chit chat again, Dusto, for the books today. I really appreciate and enjoy your point of view, sir. Although we may disagree on a couple points. I'm
used to it.
Thank you, Dusto. Appreciate it. Sorry to rush you, but we got to go. Dr. Tasha.
Oh, yeah, I got to go for sure.
Appreciate you, Doc. We're going to have you back. I think there's so much, again, that we could continue to talk about. I know you got to go. I'm going to leave the link up. Anybody else, I know Dr. Tasha is going to be out. If you want to come and make your final comments, the last call for the panel. But check Dr. Tasha out. When you say your next live show is, I hope I get to catch it.
Oh, November 2nd at the Dania Beach Improv. Me and Chris Priest, the teacher.
November 2nd, I think I moved.
Wednesday night, 8 to 10. The
tickets are already up?
Tickets are $20. Yes, you can go on Dania Beach Improv website. And yeah, it literally, the topic is, do you still believe in the one?
What time is that?
8 to 10 p.m.
You know I always have my massage on your show.
I'm not even mad. You see what I'm saying?
I have to come after.
I'm not even mad.
I like to put on makeup after I
get
my face and my body.
I'm not even mad.
But y'all, shout out Dr. Tasha. Appreciate you coming through, sis. Blessings as always. Good luck with that show. I hope I can be there. Check her out, guys, especially if you're in the South Florida area. She does great work, one-on-one, personal counseling. She'll come to your house. So if you need help unpacking what we've been talking about today, how to unlearn what they told us, let me know. And again, I'm happy to have you. Always a pleasure, my sister. Thank you so much for coming through,
Thank you.
Doc.
You too.
I'll see you again
Congratulations
soon.
on your year. That's a big
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to do a quick wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks to Dr. Tasha. Thanks to Dusto. Appreciate you guys. Let me read a couple more comments in the chat. Big up yourselves. I saw a couple of super chats I did not want to forego. Thank you very much, everybody who showed love. And yes, everybody has differences of opinion, so it's okay. When we're here, it's an open forum. But I'm grateful that we can have this kind of open dialogue because everybody's not on the same page in terms of what their opinions and perspectives are. So it's okay. Shout out to Terrell Key. Big up to my brother in education. Talking about education on YouTube. Thank you so much for showing love. So just showing love for your 1 year. Great conversation. Yes, we get a little deep sometimes. You know, you guys know I love the personal development stuff. I appreciate that. Yes, they want me to do a show with Dusto just to get his personality true and perspectives on what we got going on in the Black community. Yeah, I do think Ace is saying it's more pessimistic. I don't know if it's pessimistic, but I think he's a realist for sure. And he's saying don't wait on them to fix the quote unquote systemic problems. Go for what you can do with your own life. Right. Go for what you can do. Let me drink some water. I know it's time to go. With your own life right now. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Loud and clear. Yes, I can go into racial restricted covenants and all that. Snuggles in the building. Nice to see. Snuggles saying, if these people you are talking about is so bad, I think you all should allow them to continue controlling your minds and destroying the community. You say you don't have to stop complaining. Community, you say, okay. Yes, of course. We look at for each other. Yep, we do. Thank you so much, Sunbreeze. Thank you again for sponsoring the stream. The Christian Fam channel says redlining still happens here in Dallas to this day via zip codes when it comes to lending and approval. This is proven, bro. Proven that there are realtors. I remember the first time I went out with a realtor, the neighborhoods that they showed me, I was like, I'm not even getting out the car. What are you doing? But it was in a different city, and I kept thinking, no. Did you not know what we came here to do? They all aspects of the what should I say, lending process, home buying process has been tainted for decades. So that this is real. This is straight from the lips of a white man in a prominent bank who was being brutally honest with me. I hear you. Get the likes up. They say hit the like before you go, guys. Enjoying the conversation. Please hit the like. Please comment. Please share. Team Replay, hit the like button too. Yes, I think Dusto probably does know, but doing origins, his research on his origins in Virginia, 100%. Terrell says, I don't know if there's just one Black community anymore. It seems like there's multiple Black communities today. Interesting perspective. Maybe in socioeconomics. Socioeconomically speaking, I probably would agree with you. Woman King, I did see the movie. So yes, maybe have Dusto back as a guest. Yes, we have so many different experiences. I would agree. So what he's saying and what he's experiencing, I'm not even disputing. I can honor his experience, and my experience can also be true. I think those, again, two things can be true at the same time. There can be systemic racism as well as opportunity that people are not taking full advantage of. Those two things can be true at the same time, right? But I do think exposure is a heck of a thing. If you don't have exposure, if you're still living in a poverty mindset, and even realistically, when I looked at some of the numbers in Florida about kids missing meals and doing research, and September was Hunger Awareness Month. So just looking at some of those statistics, I was like, there are kids that only get food, especially from down here. Miami is a very service economy. People are working. They're working 2 jobs and such, but they're not making a lot of money hourly. So kids can still be hungry. Your majority of your paycheck, if 70-80% of your paycheck is going towards your rent, you don't have a lot. Maybe you qualify for a SNAP benefits. Maybe you don't. But it's crazy sometimes to think about. I'm like, their kids, majority of the kids in the school system in Miami are impoverished or by the federal government standards eating at the poverty line, and they're getting their main meals from school. So when we talk about, oh, things are over, things are good, I'm like, are they? Are they really good? Anyway, let me see. Dashara, you've been amazing. I've enjoyed reading your comments in the chat. Miss Glove Girl, you know it's been wonderful as always. She adds, these statements are just as dangerous and reckless as those of the white oppressors throughout history. Her opinion. Thank you very much. We turned up during Reconstruction. I'm telling you, them 10 years after the Civil War, when troops were stationed in the South to enforce equality, we had black senators in Florida, black state senators, black houses, representative members. Shout out to the ancestors who were able to break through in those 10 and 15 years. But after that, when the troops withdrew from the South, y'all don't want to talk about all out genocidal, what should I call it? Because to say is apartheid is almost like to understate what was happening. You lived in fear your life. People ask, oh, we live in fear. Why do we have fear? We had fear because literally anybody could snatch you up off the street. This is a lot to go and unpack. There's so much to unpack. That's why we need therapy. Who was it? I think it was maybe Alan from We Need to Talk about that. Choosing a black person to love and marry is already going to be difficult for many reasons, but the main one is a lot of times we have unfinished things to unpack and unlearn because of our very circumstances. So by me deciding to be with you, I must already have the empathy and the love to say you're going to have these broken places too because of society, macro, and because of our individual lives in our parents' homes, micro. It's going to all be there. But we have to show each other enough love, grace, empathy, and understanding to know that's what's going to happen by virtue of us being conditioned and raised in the societies we're raised. A lot of our counterparts don't have to deal with that. It's real. A lot of our counterparts don't. So it is easier to marry outside your race or do other things in many instances. Not that white people are perfect or other races are less, traumatized, but we do have a lot of, to say it indelicately, baggage that, again, if we're not putting in the time now to work through, the other person has to deal with. And your kids are going to have to deal with it, right? So understanding, even in my own walk, things that I've learned in my own parental patterns, things that may not serve, I still might not let my daughter one day or son one day go to sleep off. They're going to be sleeping over at my house, y'all, but don't be mad at me. Yes. And I love the way Dr. Tasha say, well, I can't open back that can of worms. Y'all really like smart women? Do you really like that? As long as they stay nurturing? Is that the consensus? I don't know. I wanted to dig a little bit more, but I know she has stuff to do today. The problem today is anti-Black racism, says Ace Butterfly. This is very subtle. When you train people who become your supervisor, that's anti-Black racism. Even when we think about in that case with the Los Angeles County, I think they were the city council or city commission, there were 3 Hispanic members that were making fun of a fellow councilman who was white but had adopted a Black son. Their fellow councilman had a Black son. It was really interesting to say that, his son needed to be beaten. His son was acting like a monkey. His son was, all these pejorative things. And they were plotting for how to remain, and it's open. It's on video. It's on tape. I don't know who recorded it and who released it, but it's on tape. The Latino leaders trying to discuss redistricting in a way that would prevent a Black power base to keep power in the Latino community. And I think sometimes, and I raise that to say sometimes we don't acknowledge even within Latino and other circles that are supposed to be our brothers, that there is anti-Black racism within those communities as well. Well documented. So yeah, sometimes we don't get to talk about it as openly because it's taboo and we're all supposed to be minorities, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Yeah, Dr. Natasha always, she was like, so I got to about 1:30 today, so I had to try my best. Why can't we do both things at once? Drive a truck and work at Amazon, but also understand and know history. I agree. We can acknowledge both. I think that was the mistake of especially some of the boomer generation, not to talk about it because it was so painful, not to talk about it because we basically dealt with terrorism. Our counterparts, they don't forget their history. They talk about it all the time. So yeah, we would definitely, I think, be able to do both. And I think it's okay to say you can take advantage of every possibility that there is at your fingertips now. But to also know that my starting block is not the same as your starting block. Please and thank you. Let me see a couple more comments before we head on out. Yes, the Netflix show is called Crack. Just look up Crack on Netflix. I actually watched it the other day. I think it's the second time I watched it. Because again, I was looking at this thing called the Iran-Contra affair. I never understood what this meant. But the Iran-Contra, because I always heard it. I remember being in like elementary school and I was in classes, like advanced classes, doing history and stuff. And they would always bring this up. I didn't understand it until I watched this documentary where the infiltration of drugs, as one person, I think it was one former New York man who had been a dealer, said you couldn't bring a Cuban cigar into the United States of America, but all of a sudden thousands and millions of kilos of cocaine and then crack was being poured into specifically, and it's shown, especially down here in Miami, Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, that police put them in Black neighborhoods. This is documented. But we don't want to talk about that. It's part of history, but we don't want to teach it. Not in Florida. You know, we don't want to be woke. Don't want to teach actual history. But yeah, it was talking about the Iran-Contra affair. Basically, Reagan's administration comes into power, wants to build democracy, export democracy. You got to remember, like, it's communism versus capitalism, democracy versus communism. And so anybody who's seen as being allied with the USSR or Russia at the time, we want to bring them into our sphere of influence, of the United States' influence as democracies. So in South America at the time, pure civil war, Nicaragua, Honduras, all of them were in civil war, which were factions that seemed to be pro-democrat, or I don't even say principles, more capitalistic principles, and then others who were trying to ally with Cuba and the communism, etc. So what does the U.S. government do? We, through our president, Ronald Reagan, end up funding people, the pro, I think, communist-based government was like the Sandinistas. They hire a ragtag group of soldiers, freedom fighters called the Contras that were counter the Sandinistas. We sponsored them. But guess how the Contras make money? Selling back, as we, the United States, gave them guns to go fight their own government, their own brothers in the Civil War. Reagan tried to liken them to founding fathers that were trying to fight against evil in these countries because we wanted Nicaragua to be under our influence, basically. The Contras were given food, from food to guns. The U.S. Congress, according to the documentary, passed a law that was like, we should not be as the United States supplying guns to South America and supplying taxpayer support to these South American rebels, as they were. So how did we do this? Reagan and them set up a system where we illegally, even though Congress passed a law that we should not be able to send U.S. money and support to Central America, they sold weapons to Iran. This is in the early 80s. I'm going to go kind of filter in more information about it. Sold weapons to Iran and then use that money illegally to sponsor Contras, the Contras. So Iran-Contra affair is the name this got. It sounds nice and pretty in a bow tie, but as a result of that money from selling arms illegally to Iran, I'm like, these people are like our foes now, but we were selling them weapons 20 years ago. Selling the arms to Iran, taking the money, paying for the guerrillas who were fighting the Sandinistas named Contras in Nicaragua, The contras, as they were getting guns and stuff, what was it easy to put back on that bag in that plane? Drugs. So they were also, because they wanted the Contras to win, as the documentary points out, the government was turning a blind eye to what was being sold back, how the Contras were making extra money, which was through the cocaine trade. So you had this, it's like a circle, like a triangle. United States sells arms to Iran, money comes in, supplies the Contras send back drugs to the United States. United States want the Contras to win, so they turn a blind eye. Was it intentionally orchestrated this way? Was it just a byproduct of the U.S. wants us to beat the Sandinistas, so let's get money anyway, and we're going to sell all these drugs, but the U.S. needs us to win, so they're going to ignore us? Or was this a conscious, intentional plan to disrupt and decimate entire communities in the United States through drugs? I don't know. The documentary does not share that, but it definitely gives a very eye-opening look into the contrast of how drug offenses and offenders were criminalized then. And as an attorney now, when I look at things that are now in existence, like drug court, and how you have to give people chances to get better and heal, and how crack so-called babies, which was like a big, according to this documentary, was an overblown stereotype based on a study with a guy of like 23 babies in Michigan. This doctor was quoted, and it was like the stereotype was like Black women hate their children and giving them crack. A lady who was on there was also one that was convicted for so-called endangering her child with crack. The circumstances around her case, I'm gonna let y'all watch it for yourselves. But all of it, I kept thinking to myself, Lord, this was like 20 years of first getting everybody hooked, letting teenagers basically who were impoverished, wearing their sisters' clothes and holes in their shoes, and the most poor among the United States from the 70s and the 80s, to now money flowing. Majority of the people in the what should I say, in the pipeline at the bottom were Black and brown, majority of the buyers being white. And how after the death of a particular police officer, the method of policing that we know now, the smackdown, crack 'em heads, militarization of policing, how it came about, and then it changed the crack game. The crime bill of, what is it, 88, 86? Mandatory minimums for crack. Like all of this, I'm just like, people went away for 10, 20, 40 years. Where are your fathers? You gonna take away people's freedom for small amounts of crack, where you would need 10 times the amount of cocaine for the same charge, and then make fun of you for not having a father, and then say where your daddy at? Don't tell me that there's not systemic issues that have created the society that we have 40 years later. I don't know. I can't go into it. It's a great documentary. Go ahead and watch it. Doug on the super chat. Thank you. Yeah, I grew up opposite to Dusto, really, in VA, in the Confederate capital, and we believe the same on that topic. Interesting. So you were in like the Black Mecca, if you want to call it that, where Black families had, means. That's why I love, when I was little, going to Jamaica. It blew my mind when I visited when I was a little girl, just seeing all Black everything. Black police officers, Black people all over tennis courts. Thanks, Serena and Bean, and shout out to them. But Black people have been playing tennis and been doing that before we integrated it here, Althea Gibson, and other places. I remember just thinking, I'm like, the prime minister is Black, the firefighters are Black, everything is Black. It is a very different circumstance to have your mind cultivated in terms of not seeing yourself as being marginalized or less than. It's very interesting. Shout out to you, Doug. Thank you for showing some love. I'm waxing. Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to get my. I'm gonna have to get my. Every time Dr. Tasha has a show, I have a massage. Last show I'm supposed to go to Dr. Tasha, even though this one is close and I can go and it's easy to get to. I like that area. That improv I've been to. A friend of mine has performed there. I went to a karaoke there. I like that improv. So I'm gonna have to show some love though. But that night I am scheduled, so I don't want to go and then because your face be all up in the thing with no makeup and Yeah, but the shows be good. Dr. Tasha is solid. She does a live show. I think her and this guy named Chris Priester still doing them together. It's a live talk show similar to some topics that we've been talking about here. And they just go in the audience and the audience asks questions and they pass the mic Oprah style. And her and this gentleman kind of play off each other. He's a comedian. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. People have drinks. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. I might have to go. Thank you so much, the world class. Yes, people are allowed. Scam likely says poor people are allowed to lose. Bad decisions are still bad decisions. Thank you for your opinion. Of course, thank you for being here, that Christian Fam channel. I appreciate you coming up the other day. I agree with this statement. Fixing self equals fixing the systemic problem. Sign up for a different system. To an extent, I agree with what this is saying. So yes, it does start with you individually, 100%. But I do think that's it ignores the existence of truly systemic problems. So anyway, we're gonna agree to disagree. Desta, appreciate you. Let me see. Last comment. Sunbreeze again. Thank you. We need to hear the story on the Suzette's first and last. Really, oh my God, too much. Hey, Andre, how you been again? Thank you so much for all your support. Appreciate you being here again. Everybody showing love today. Thank you, Sunbreeze. Thank you so very much. Also, the TBE Trucking for donating today, showing love. If y'all want to show love and support, buy me a coffee or whatever. Here is the Cash App. Appreciate everybody who gave so generously. I won't say ode to Chef what I want to say. I'll hold that thought and really process why I say that thought. But to my co-hosts and everybody watching on Jamaicans.com, big up yourselves. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna okay, Miss Linda, don't be mad at me, Miss Linda. I'm gonna introduce you and Sandy B today on Instagram. My email is full. Every time I try to delete it to be able to send, I can't send and receive email right now. I got too much email. Just 5 days of not being here, it's like my email's full. So I'm trying to go read and delete. Sorry, I have not introduced you to Sandy B Law. She's here though. But yeah, Suzette made a video on 911 health. We're perfect for your theme today. Okay, good. It's called Unlock Your Mind. Excellent. Okay, I will check it out, Miss Linda. Thank you as always. Oh, thanks for showing love. Appreciate you on the super chat. The Christian Fam channel. Check out her channel. I just subscribed. Looking forward to getting more into your content. Thank you so much for showing support and for being up on the panel the other night. I really, really enjoyed your perspective. Salute, says Angela. Salute, great Bill. Thank you. No. Listen, I can get on my soapbox just a little bit. I appreciate you, the world class. Yeah, we can't even get into policing. We can't even get into the judicial system. We can't even get into the 13th Amendment. We can't even get into how in 1980 you had a jail population of the United States of 300,000. Now it's 2 million plus. This is by design. This is by design. I mean, as an attorney, I respect the judicial system. I do. Thank God for the rule of law. But there's so many parts of it that are just not. I might have to have a whole nother show. We'll have to have a whole nother show. Y'all ready? Let's go. I have Bernard S. back next week. I have a couple of good shows. I need to put up the streams and make the thumbnails. So make sure you are subbed. If you're not subscribed, hit subscribe now and hit the notification bell to make sure. I feel a lot better after my workout today. My sinuses are clearing out a little at a time. New Orleans did not disappoint. My sinuses are finally coming back. But shout out to everybody watching. I will be actually out of town again in a little bit. I'll probably do a live from where I'll be. I ain't gonna tell y'all my business until I'm ready to go. But I gotta be out of town another 2 weeks. So a little bit of travel here. I haven't traveled in a long time. Told you guys I'll be at Art Basel. I'm really excited about that. Got booked for a show there. God is good. Just finding small wins. Do yourself a favor and find small wins. Small wins today. That's what I celebrated with my 1 year. It's small, but it's there. It's there. Thank you, Lord. Of course, when you visit Jamaica, are you aware of influence of colorism? Of course. Even how people see me as an American. But beyond that, colorism is entrenched in a lot of the islands. A lot. Because again, from our oppressors, the closer to white you are, the more opportunity you were given. My mom will tell me stories about how she wasn't even allowed to apply for certain scholarships. The aunt of mine, who was the fairest skinned, got a scholarship to go to high school because you got to pay for high school in the States. I mean, in the islands. You don't pay for it here. But yeah, skin and color, oh my gosh, it's a definite issue. It's getting better because you got a lot of dark-skinned people with their money now. Everybody got money now. Black people making money now. So you see a little bit more diversity, I think, but it's still very prevalent in different places. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Those who are living in Jamaica, tell me what you think. Yeah, I'm about to go. Sandy B, hey girl, I'm glad you're here. Let me think. Doug says, even with systematic racism, when are we going to stop whining, compete, and beat the system? I think we've been doing that, Doug. I hear what you're saying. I don't believe in the don't talk about it, out of sight, out of mind. But I do think for Black people to be where we are now in the United States of America, a whole lot of people had to be doing their best to prove to the system and to prove to themselves that they are capable, that they are worthy, that they pushed even when the door kept slamming in their face, right? I do believe we've been doing this, Doug. I understand your point, but I do believe we've been doing this. Y'all hit the like button before. Yeah, no. People email me a lot. I'm like, I'm trying to get on the unsubscribe list. You know, sometimes you have to go back and try to unsubscribe. I'm like, why do I have all this mail? Don't sign up as a defendant in the judicial system. Sometimes people get caught up. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. It sounds like everybody who's gone to jail is a bad person or is guilty. I'm here to tell you that's not the truth. You'd be surprised. Man, there's too much to say about this. I gotta go, y'all. Yeah, colorism is horrible in the South. I've seen colorism both ways. We should do a show on colorism. I haven't done that. Even when I think about like Meghan Markle, and I think she has benefited from being almost like an ambiguous, light, fair-skinned Black woman until she couldn't. Until the queendom was like, nah, you still a Negro. What? Oh, you thought you was gonna come over here and pass? No, Black girl, sit down. Do what? We don't want Archie to be too dark. Like, I do believe and I think she has admitted as much, that she lived a very privileged life because she looked almost, passing. But then the wake-up call came. So I definitely do think we struggle with this, even within our... I was wondering, does colorism apply to men? I think, and opportunity-wise, absolutely, yeah. Because I always think of it in the context of women, so I'm just thinking aloud. Yeah, it's crazy, but we can't ignore it. Just pick yourself up by the bootstraps and go do it. Okay. We're going to have to regardless. I don't care who you are. America is not an easy place. So you're going to have to pick yourself up and just try to fight as much as you can to get where you want to go. That's just the system of capitalism. But I hear you. But to say that there is not also things that we need to eradicate. Ace Butterfly says that, Doug, we're in agreement. My point is systemic racism will never be eradicated. So why focus on it? Be active and build wealth. Group economics taught by Dr. Claude Anderson. Well taken. No. So let me get this straight. Complain about colorism, dark versus light, then say we should align with black only. No, that's not my point. I'm not saying that's my point. Uh-huh. Okay. Let me. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm really behind in the comments. Thank you so much. We need to. What we need to know podcast. Yes, it does apply to black men for sure. I think 100%. Now I think about it. Actually, yes, 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 yes. No. If President Obama have won, if he was Michael Jordan's complexion, I think he benefited from being a fair-skinned, mixed-race black man. Absolutely. Um. Scam likely. Says picking yourself up by the bootstraps is optional. Victimhood is always hiring. You know what? Keep it 100. Yes, I agree with you, Doug. Picking yourself up by the bootstraps is the only way. No one is going to do it for us. Again, I think this is a very, Doug, with love, very middle class mindset, because I've met people and I've taught in schools where there were, no one had when I tell you no one had a clue, like you would say, oh, there's the internet. No, there's this. I'm telling you, I met kids who went through high school couldn't add, subtract, and multiply properly. So I hear you, but again, I think it varies again on the socioeconomic path you're on or were brought up in. I know this is a true statement, but I do again know that there's a whole lot of different parts of this, scale that is not accounted for with just that simplified statement. This Globe Girl says, I think to better understand the issues regarding race, we must compartmentalize them first. Interesting. What do you mean by that? To better understand the issues of race, you have to put them to one side and keep living your life? Is that what you mean? Cool. Melanin is overrated. Iko, jump me in. Are you thinking so? I love my melanin. I really do. I love it. And I do not believe it's overrated. I know you can borrow some of mine anytime you want to, but I love mine. I love mine. Yes, Sandy B, my point exactly. What if you don't have boots? I have met people, again, lacking life skills, no parental guidance, poor parental role models. And I'm thinking to myself, God, it would be lucky. I mean, they met me, thank God. I could be somewhat of a eye-opener, enlightener, give them some exposure, but they're fighting. They're fighting some terrible stereotypes. Yes, I do believe this is a true statement. Obama benefited from always talking about his grandparents who raised him. I agree with that, the mother's side of the family. I do believe it also benefited him that both his parents had passed on. So there was no family to interrogate. That's why they had to go to Kenya and go meet his family over there or whatever. But I do think it benefited him too that the family was deceased in a way. So it wasn't like all this extra baggage. I agree. This is a historical fact. Darker complexions in the Western Hemisphere in the post, which I say, well, Columbian era from Christopher Columbus on, darker complexions people seen as violent and more aggressive according to all the of the excessive force research. Interesting. Yeah. True. Big deal. Yeah. Thank you. You enjoying the bonus? I'm just waxing philosophical. Y'all got me in a mood. Dusto don't put me in a mood. Lord God. Dusto said, if you're going to be a victim, be good at it. Pell Grant, affirmative action, grants, Title V programs, first-time home buyers, etc. He said, get your life together. Doug says, I grew up from poverty and I have a I don't give a whoop mindset. Interesting. Can we get 50 likes so I can get off this? Y'all hit the like button. Give me 50 likes so I can please go. Easy gospel piano lessons. Long time no see. Says the words like fair-skinned is a question of by what means is fair. What does it mean to be fair? I get what you're saying. We have to change our terminology and not answer to the stereotype anymore. No, the issues is that we tend to speak apples and yes. I think we're comparing sometimes two different things. Ike, so funny. Shout out to all the albino family here, all our lighter skinned Black folks. Shout out to all of you. Like to talk about. I never heard this melanin blackity superpower stuff until I get. You know what? I'm gonna click off. Y'all hit the like button, please. Not the blackity superpower stuff. Not the blackity. Who says that? Blackity superpower? Wow, okay. You didn't grow up in milk. No, Doug, not to dispute that, brother. But what I realized, people have different levels of like intelligence and resilience. I think this whole concept of like everybody's made the same is not true. I think they recognize that okay, so that's my philosophy. I think a lot of people recognize that back in the days, like early 20th century, that, God, like having intelligence is a nurtured part of human existence, but it's also, you have to be born with an aptitude. You can cultivate a brain, you can cultivate a brain, you can cultivate a brain as much as you can. So I do believe people have opportunities to increase what God gave them. But I've met folks that I find that are limited a lot in their ability. Not to say that they're not a good human being or don't need to be valued as a human being. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, to me, certain things can be, what should I say, nurtured. But I think I don't know. I know the human brain is elastic and can be developed, but I know a lot of people that are slower than what you would anticipate based on, their families around them. And I just don't think everybody has that same exposure. I'm trying to pick my words carefully. I'm trying to make sure I articulate what I mean properly. But yeah, no, I think there's variations on how people are born in terms of their aptitude. I don't know. There are some people that are very gifted in different areas. There are other people that are like average, and there's nothing wrong with being average. But how you assume that a person is going to take on challenges and overcome them, they have to have, it's like a mix of the nurture, exposure, and ability. And I just think that there's a kind of blanket in the United States, everybody has the same ability, and that is not my experience. That's just not my experience. But I do think that opportunities are there across the board, but you have to have the ability to execute on them. Easy Gospel says it's much easier to help each other than give advice and watch people struggle. Yeah. Somebody says, I think we need these Black men with a good paying job so they can feel aligned with their male competition. I think we need these Black men with good paying jobs so they can feel aligned with their male competition. Interesting. Yes, colorism applies. Oh yeah. When they talk about it with Steph Curry, whether he has so-called light skin privilege and why he's so popular and marketable. I'm trying to think if there's other sports figures that definitely, definitely benefit from this. Yep, Doug says, Sue, I don't know what you're talking about. People are becoming millionaires from a smartphone, so there are no excuses. Obtaining power mindset is lacking. Obtaining power mindset is lacking. I can agree with that. Ace says, most definitely, I see some of the dominant group. They can dish, but they can't take it. They collapse with illness. Interesting. Somebody says, okay, financial illiteracy, misappropriation of priorities, and coddling criminal behavior is more of our problem in 22 than the systematic racism. Okay. Can we please get 2 more likes, guys? I'm trying to go. Thank you very much. The Christian Fam channel says this is why deltas and AKAs were so divided, and the perception of the two were night and day. I think initially, especially, I think initially it was like pretty girls with pearls or whatever were fair paper bag colored women. And you had to have another sorority for, I think in their origin story, this is probably true. If you're a Delta, if you're AK, you want to comment on this, let me know. Doug adds, the middle class is about to disappear from artificial intelligence and automation at Sunbreeze. We can't afford to make excuses with what's to come in the very near future. I think we can walk and chew gum. We have to focus on a success mindset, trying to take advantage of every possibility, thinking abundance, not thinking scarcity, and trying to get ourselves exposed to the different training, I would say education tools, whatever it is, so that we can fully participate in the economy. Because I agree with Doug, automation about to take away a lot of, even down here in Miami, service jobs. We're about to have full restaurants without anybody working in them, right? The Airbnb I stayed at in New Orleans, a lady from her house on a computer screen checked us in. We had a keypad to get in. And then we walked in, no reception desk, just a computer screen with a lady who looked like she was somewhere in probably South Asia and was like checking us in and giving us directions. We had our own, what should we call it? A supply closet. Nobody changed your sheets or spread your bed. And if you wanted extra, toilet paper or hand towels, whatever, you went to their own supply closet and got it yourself. There was a code for that. You went in there and got what you needed. There were, I was just like, golly, I didn't see anybody until the weekend, in the hotel cleaning it. And I think they only hire staff to clean after you checked out. It was very interesting. I thought about it. I was like, this is a hotel Airbnb style. This is definitely, kind of taking food out of the people's mouths who used to be receptionists, bellhops, people who moved your luggage or whatnot, bellmen. It's changed. It's changed a lot. So yeah, we don't have, I hear what you're saying when you say we don't have time to focus on. I hear what you're trying to say, but I do think we can walk and chew gum as Black folks, as Americans. Yeah, let's just be real. Let me see. Final comments. Doug. Sorry, not sorry. I have no nonsense, no excuse, and a militant mentality. Get on board or get left behind. All right, Doug. I appreciate that. Is that true? Light-skinned football players are perceived to be not as tough, non-dogs. Okay. I don't watch football like that to have heroes and think about it, but I watch more NBA. I really enjoy NBA. Are y'all enjoying college football seasons? Last comment. Any college football fans watching football today? What y'all watching? Which games y'all watching? College football fans, anybody? Nobody? Any games that I should look out for today? I have to go to a friend's baby birthday party in just a little bit. My friend's baby. So I will know Patreon. I'll be at a baby party. Her daughter's turning 1 already. It's kind of crazy. So I'll be doing that a little on and then maybe out and about in these streets. Yep. So I'll be going to find a little baby outfit. Yes. Oh, you watching Jackson State today? Okay. Big up Jackson. Doug for governor of Florida, says Sandy B. Cool. All right. Did we get 50 likes? I hope so. I'm going to head out. I appreciate you guys. One last call, please. Thank you. Hit the like button. Again, thank you to Dr. Tasha. Check her out. drivebytherapy.org. Hit the like button. I need water and I need food. I know my mouth is getting tongue-tied. Make sure you hit the notification bell for what we got going on next week. Let me look. Anyway, so we'll talk. Appreciate you guys. Hit the like button. And if you have any comments in your team replay, how to unlearn what they told us, let me know. All right. Shout out to my Patreon community. As always, appreciate you guys. Have a good day. All right. Thank you. Texas versus Oklahoma State. Okay, got you. All right, cool. All right, spam the comments, y'all. I'm going to be here all day. Hit the like. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Take care.